Capcom sure loves spoiling us, don't they? How are you guys enjoying Raging Brachydios and Furious Rajang? I know I've certainly had some interesting moments fighting them. Welcome hunters, huntresses and palicos. I know we've just gotten the 2 new variants and most of us probably haven't even crafted all of their gear. I still haven't crafted every weapon yet, but it's still fun to look at the future and speculate, right? We know what's next is Master Rank Kog'Toroth, AT Namiel, and then Alatreon. I gotta tell you, I was not expecting Alatreon. Matter of fact, I have a video up saying he would never come, but man, was I wrong. And I'm glad to be. A little side note, you guys remember the leaked list of monsters, right? Way back before the Monster Hunter World launched. Only Orochi Kirin is missing in game now. I still don't think it'll come, but what do you guys think? Anyway, today we'll be speculating on what comes after all that, the June and later. More specifically about which variants are to come next. Just to be clear, when I say variants, I'm actually referring to variants, subspecies, deviants and all that, for the sake of brevity. I've compiled a little list and it turns out there's really not much options going on. To really qualify for the list, the monster has to be tier 2 and above. If you're not sure what that is, just think of it as any monster that can be tempered. The monster also must not have an existing variant now in Iceborne, and itself should not be a variant of a monster in base world. All clear, yeah? Cool. On to the list then. Here are all the monsters that meet those criteria. Barroth, Gyarados, Diablos, Radoban, Uragan, Lavasioth, Banbaro, Beotodus, Nagakuga, and Barioth. Now right off the bat, let's weed out the unlikely ones, the fishes. Gyura, Beotodus, and Lavasioth don't really have all that much going for them, do they? Their armors don't have any set bonuses, and I think there are a few hunters who actually enjoy hunting the Piscean Wyverns. Next up is Banbaro. I don't think he'll get a variant either, because while the Hoarfrost lacks any true tier 1 monster, Banbaro and Beotodus take up that spot. Also, not set bonuses on his armor, and him being an invader has kept him relevant in post-game. Then comes Radoban, also a brand new monster that came along in Monster Hunter World and one of the coolest monsters in my opinion in both ecology and mechanics. But as with the others, he doesn't have a set bonus, and to make a variant of him would be to make a new monster, which seems unlikely at this stage. Now for the first monster to possibly get a variant from this list is good old Barroth. Sure, he doesn't have an armor skill and is a very early game sort of tutorial monster, but hunting him was always a good time, and he does have an existing variant in Jade Barroth. This subspecies is a deadlier and is more agile, and he would work wonderfully well in the Hoarfrost Reach, but on the other hand he doesn't really fill a niche. I feel like his spot is already taken by Banbaro, but I would like to see him nonetheless, as there were rumblings in the community when Iceborne was announced. Which leads us to Thanos, I mean Uragan. Uragan is the first monster on this list to have an armor set bonus. Although I would sooner go naked than use his armor to get guard up, even though I have no shield jewel. Naked! Do you hear me, Capcom? So, Uragan. What are his known variants? There's Crystal Beard Uragan. This variant, or deviant to be precise, has crystals embedded in his chin. I guess his mama never told him to watch where your chin smash. Remember kids, don't smash your chin on crystals. Infinity Stone Uragan can launch these crystals around and they can explode with sleeping gas. I think the dev team could really come up with some fun shenanigans with this mechanic. But the really fun one is, and Are you guys ready for this? Feast your eyes on Pumpkin Uragan. Oh, isn't that thing just magical? I have no idea what it does, and I don't care. Just give me that pumpkin chin. That just leaves us with Diablos from the monsters in the base game. I know that Black Diablos is technically a variant, but it's just a normal Diablos female in heat and would presumably return to normal once mating season is done. Also, Diablos is the only Apex in base world that didn't get a variant in Iceborne. So if he's getting a variant, what would it be? Well, look into the past games. There's Hardcore Diablos, which seems more like a tempered Diablos. Then there's the Gilded Diablos, which just looks ridiculous. This thing looks like it came straight out of a Persona game. And finally, the most likely one is Bloodbath Diablos. This is a monster that is rightly feared by most hunters and seems to have left quite an impression on the hunting populace. It is brutal, it is unforgiving, and it is more than worthy of being an endgame edition. As a 5th fleet hunter, I can't wait to fight one someday. The penultimate candidate we need to talk about is Barioth. His armor skill Punishing Draw is one of the most interesting skills in the game, but his equipment is kinda so-so. He's pretty much the apex of the Hoarfrost Reach, challenged only by Shrieking Legiana, which is an invasive species. What then of his variants? There's Frozen Barioth, which is just Barioth with his ice abilities amped up to 11 and sporting cool new glacial tusks. Nothing too special there. Basically what Shrieking Legiana is to Legiana. Then there's the, in my opinion, more likely, Sand Barioth. A far more aggressive subspecies that lives in the desert. In the previous games they weren't mechanically too different from the normal Barioths, except instead of ice vortices, Sand Barioth made dust devils. But get this, to keep cool, Sand Barioth actually soaks himself in the blood of his kills. Now that's hardcore. If he was to come to the game, I believe the devs would change him up well enough to warrant an endgame entry. And finally, last but not least, we have Nagakuga. Of course, it has to be. The Swift Wyvern. He was the first ever monster teased to be in Iceborne and a definite fan favorite. As a matter of fact, he ticks all the same boxes as Brachydios. Fan favorite monster? Check. Mid-game fight that faded into obscurity in endgame? Check. Highly valuable armor skills with a kinda meh armor set? Check, checkity check. So if Brachy got the glow up and blow up treatment, Naga gotta get it too. All the previous monsters are a maybe for me, but a Naga variant is very much guaranteed. So what are the options? Oh my god, there are just so much. This guy has cousins like I got bills. First off, there's Fierce Water Nagakuga, who can shoot the tail quails in concentrated clumps and has added cutting abilities with his wings by using water jets in his arms along with his wing swipes. And his tail slams does major splash damage. Get it? Because of the water. Next up is Green Nagakuga, which isn't all that remarkable. Let's move on. Next is Blinking Nagakuga. This monster is a little crazy. He's from Frontier, so obviously. He can, as implied by his name, move distances in the blink of an eye, almost seeming to teleport. He can shoot his quills into the sky, which after a delay fall like rain to cover the zone. And he can create blades of wind that can suck hunters in a la Astalos and then cut them up. Then we have Lucent Nagakuga. He's super cool, alright. He has venomous spikes and shakes them like a rattlesnake. And he can go freaking invisible. Okay, it's not really invisibility per se, more like melding into his surroundings by reflecting light rather than becoming transparent. So a cloaking technology, if you will. Unfortunately, invisibility is really not something the developers seem to be interested in, so all of these subspecies are unlikely to appear. But the one that I think that is most likely is of course silver-winged Nagakuga. An old Nagakuga that has become battle hardened and extremely adept at using its attacks. So much so that it can send out ranged blades of wind to cut you up and leave you bleeding. Such a unique monster that I don't even know what kind of crazy stuff the devs would cook up for its Iceborne incarnation, if there ever was to be one. So that's my take on future possible variants. There is one little problem, however. None of these monsters are really all that big of a deal as compared to Raging Brachydios and Furious Rajang. Perhaps with the exception of Bloodbath Diablos. So even two of them carrying a title update seems a little bit unlikely to me. Maybe 3 or 4 could be bundled together, or perhaps one monster is gonna be bundled with each upcoming Arc-Tempered Elder Dragon release. I think that would be the best way to implement them. Anyway, I've rambled on enough. So tell me, what do you guys think? Do you think any of these monsters will make it, or perhaps there's a monster out there that I've missed? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, keep hunting the monsters, yeah?